Okay, tonight we're going to be looking at graphing y equals tan x. So make sure you've got your calculator with you. It's different than sine and cosine, as you will see. We need to think about where tangent's undefined. So remember, tan is equal to sine divided by cosine. So we're basically looking where the cosine is 0. So I believe the cosine is your x coordinates, cosine sine. So at 0 degrees, the tan of 0 is going to be 0. Because that's 0 divided by 1. At 90 degrees, we have 0, 1. There we have the undefined, because the tan of 90 would be 1 divided by 0, sine divided by cosine, which is undefined. So it's also going to be undefined at 270, which is 0, -1. So the tangent of 270 is -1 divided by 0, which is undefined. And at 180 degrees, we again get the tan of 180 is 0 divided by -1, which is 0. So we are undefined at 90 and 270. Okay, so to graph undefines, remember, you use an asymptote. So undefined values use an asymptote. It's just a dotted line, okay, so we'll get that at 90 and 270. So it's just a dotted line where it's undefined. Okay, so let's go to our calculator and we'll put the mode in degrees. Our window will go from 0 to 360. We'll set the x scale this time to 90. Or you could do 45, y min -10 and y max 10, because the tan graph actually goes on and on and on. So let's take a look at the calculator. Alright, so type in there y equals tan x, and let's go to that window, and let's do 0 to 360. Make sure your mode is in degrees. Back to window. I had the x scale at 30. I'm going to put it to 90. And then I'm going to change -10 and 10. Now, remember, you can go to zoom Trig, which is zoom 7. But when you do that, it will take it from, if you go to your window now, I'm just kind of going back a little bit. If you go to your window, it goes not from -360 to 360. So you kind of have to adjust some stuff. Anyway, so that's why I set up the window to begin with. And it takes it to -4. Let's try -10, like I had, and then just hit graph. And that's what we're trying to get. Okay, so let's start with the tan graph, getting some points. So now for our table, let's set that up. So let's go to second window, and let's have it start at 0. And let's have it increment by 15s. A very important point, and you should know this from your 30, 45, 60 degree chart, the tangent of 45 is 1. And so that's a nice point to be able to plot. So I have the table start at 15, and then I go to second graph, and you see those 45s. I didn't want to go by 45s. I wanted you to see the values in between 0 and 45. Otherwise, it's just going to go 0, 0, 45, 1, 90 error, and you might not see the points that you need to see. Okay, so I have 45 is 1, but I have 15 is 0.2, and I have 30 is about 0.6. All right, and then 60 is 1.7, and 75 is 3.7, and 90 is undefined. So let's, and 0 is 0. So let's go back and plot that. So label X, Y. I am still going over 3 spaces and putting pi over 2, and then 3 more, putting pi, 3 more and putting 3 pi over 2, and 3 more and putting 2 pi. So remember, those values are 360, 270, 180, and 90. So I'm really going 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180, 210, 240, 270, 300, and 330. Okay, so to plot 0, 0, that's easy. Let's get the asymptotes in. So I'll put those in red. So at 90, we need an undefined. So we're not going to be able to cross over that. And same with 270. So then at 0, 0, it said that. And then at, we'll skip 15 and go to 30 is 0.6. Okay, so let's put our mark of 1 here and negative 1 there. Okay, and negative 4 and positive 4. All right, because that goes a little higher. So then 30 is 0.6, so over 1 mark and up 0.6. And 60 was 1.7. And the important one is 45, right in the middle there, and that is at 1. So then, if you go back to your table, and you look, or your calculator, and you just, go to the home screen, and you look at your value for tan, say of 80 degrees. See, that's at 5.6 or 5.7 to the nearest tenth. Now, if you take the tan of 85, that's at 11. And if you take the tan of 89 degrees, that's at 57. So, if you change that to tan of like 89.9999, now we're at 572,957. So, if you were to plot that, it would, go up and up and up really high. It's never going to cross over this asymptote at 90 degrees. So to compensate, we just kind of, draw our arrows along there. All right, so then let's go back and get some points off our calculator for the rest. So if I go down here and take a look at, there's some more. So 120 is negative 1.7, and 135 is negative 1, because tangent is negative with a reference angle of 45 in quadrant 2, and at 150 we're at negative 0.6. And then at 180 we are at 0. Okay, so let's go now to plot that. So 120, which is 1 over, I'm at negative 1.7. So about here. 135, which is right in the middle, is negative 1, very important point. And then 150, I'm at negative 0.6. And then 180, I'm at 0. So if you were to take a look at, say, 90.99999 degrees, the calculator would say negative 572,000 or whatever, a big number way down. So again, we just kind of do arrows and kind of have it go like that. And that's supposed to be an arrow. All right, next, 180 to 270. Okay, so 210. I'm at 0.6, so we should see some repetition here. 225, we are at 1 because tangent of 45 is 1, and in quadrant 3, tan's positive, so it's positive 1. 240, we are at 1.7, and then 270 is undefined. So to graph that, now I'm going to go 210, which is 0.6, and then 225, which is right in the middle, is at 1, very important point. 240 is 1.7, and 270 is undefined. So it kind of repeats what it did from 0 to 90. And then what it did from 90 to 180 is what it's going to do from 270 to 360, or 3 pi over 2 to 2 pi. So let's just grab those values. Okay, so at 300, I'm at negative 1.7. At 315, we are at negative 1. And at 330, we're negative 0.6. And then you see at 360, we're back to 0. Okay. So, again, 300 is negative 1.7. And 315, very important, halfway is negative 1. And then 330 is negative 0.6. And then we're back to 0. So it goes like that. So there is your tan graph. Okay? So let's finish up here by saying our tan, you know, has some problems with its domain. It's not all reals like sine and cosine. You cannot have 90 and 270 or negative 90 if you graphed it from negative 2 pi to 2 pi. The range, however, is going to go from negative 1 to 1. So okay, so the domain, all right, is x such that x does not equal pi over 2 plus n pi, and the range is all reals. Okay, so let's just make sense of this a little bit. X such that x does not equal 90 plus n times 180. So if n is equal to 1, or 0, excuse me, then x would not equal 90. So that's true. That's not part of our domain. If n is equal to 1, then x does not equal 90 plus 1 times 180. And that's x does not equal 270. Okay? That's true. If n was equal to negative 1, then x would not equal 90 plus negative 1 times 180. 90 minus 180 is negative 90. So that's also where it's undefined. If we had n was equal to 2, x would not equal 90 plus 2 times 180, which is x would not equal 360 plus 90, which would be 450. So it is going every, kind of starting at 90 and from there going 180 in either direction. So this is the range and the domain for tangent. Okay, that concludes tonight's lesson.